everybody. Welcome to Urban EdRx. I know you're wondering, this is not Coach Racquel. No, it is not. No, it is not. My name is csBailey, and I'm the founder of the She Is Still Dope I should say the founder of the global She Is Still Dope podcast network. And today I find it a pleasure, right, and an honor to be able to interview Coach Racquel herself. I think that is very important. Coach Racquel has made some significant changes and improvements to Urban EdRx, and she's reintroducing herself and Urban EdRx. So before I bring her on, I feel like for those of you, the very few of you, but for those of you who do not know who Coach Racquel is, she's first of all, she's certified in everything. Okay, I think she might be a part-time midwife. But seriously, Coach Racquel Barnes, founder and CEO of UrbanEdRx LLC, has dedicated her career to fostering a culture of wellness in urban schools. Drawing from her personal experience with chronic stress and burnout, I know about that, during her 14 years as a teacher, Coach Racquel now empowers school leaders and staff through training, consulting, and coaching services. Specializing in self care coaching, stress management, and burnout prevention, she combines her expertise with her extensive background in health and fitness to create custom workshops, powerful workshops, retreats, amazing retreats, and programs that nurture resilience and compassion. That word, she says that word all the time. She's one of the most compassionate people I know. But let me continue reading and finish up her bio. Programs that nurture resilience and compassion within educational environments. It is my pleasure to reintroduce. I thought I was going to play Jay-Z's Allow Me to Reintroduce Myself. Sorry, y'all know who I am. But allow me to reintroduce you to the new, the improved, the refreshed, the fabulous, the amazing Coach Racquel. What's up, Coach Rock?
Hey, hey, hello,
I'm
hello.
taking over your show.
Listen, I love it. Thank you so much for being here with me and for sharing this moment. I love it. I was in the background just like dancing, like just
Listen, I
thinking of
felt
the
like I was
song
in Rap
myself,
City
getting
the
hyped,
basement.
right? Yeah,
Listen, remember Rap City the basement? They used to do the takeover. Like I'm doing the
exactly.
takeover. Yes, I'm all up in your house today. How you doing?
I am good. I am good. And I am so excited to be able to come back out here and reintroduce Urban EdRx to the world, to
Mhm.
everyone, just so that people know that the support is there. And to create a safe space for people to come and to have, those bold conversations and to really feel like there's a space for them in the urban education field. So I can't wait to tell you all more and to really jump in and talk about what this is and where
Man,
where it's
it's a big
going.
job. It's a big job, Rock. Listen, y'all tell her, for those of you who watch Power and all, I told her she's Rock. When I think about her, I think about Rock. Rock is a strong woman, not minus the drugs, right? Let's say that. Or Ben Head X. I'm sorry, y'all. You know
We're
I'm real
giving a
and I'm
different
raw.
type of drug,
But
right? We're giving
a
a different
different,
type of
that's
drug, a
right. That's
different
right. Empowering the
prescription.
community in a different way, a different prescription. There we go. I like that. Look at that. That fit right there. See, look, y'all. Coach Rock, don't underestimate her. She is a force to be reckoned with. Man, I'm so excited about what you're doing. This is so important. And so many lives have already been, but are really about to be blessed and touched and improved because of Urban Ed RX. So let's jump right into it because we got a lot to discuss. I got a lot of questions. I had to take notes because there's some things I want to know, right? But I want to ask you, like, how did your personal experiences and challenges shape the birth of Urban Ed RX?
Listen, so I mean, it was a life journey, right? I grew up in the inner city. I grew up in urban schools, and so I've gotten to see what urban education looks like from every end, every aspect. And I think as a teacher, like once I really went into teaching and really trying to support, I remember going into the field of education like with this light, like, oh, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to do all these things. And it was so funny because as you're there longer, you see everyone else who comes in with that same light, and then it just fizzles over time. And back when I was a teacher, I didn't know what that fizzle was, right? I was a young mom, trying to balance everything out, trying to figure out who I was, trying to figure out my purpose. And I just remember hitting this wall where I just felt like I'm like, God, life has to be better than this. Because for me, it felt gray. It felt like I woke up
Mm,
every day, I went to work, I came home, I stressed, struggling in my marriage. Like it just, everything felt like it was a big struggle at the time. And the thing was, I had a really strong background in health and wellness. Like my undergraduate degree, my college years were all spent in health and exercise science, all of those things. So I knew all the things I should be doing. And yet there was a gap of me getting those things done. And I felt shame. Like I felt
mm,
ashamed that I knew the information, but couldn't get it done, couldn't do it. And it really led me on what I call my path to peace of finding out, like, how do
mm,
I, how do I
that's good.
live and not just survive, right? Because there has to be more to this life than that. And so that really sent me on my own journey of getting coaching, and learning to coach, and then recognizing the importance of coaching for the educational industry, but even more importantly, in the urban communities, because there's not a lot of access to high quality coaching there. It costs, well, they're recently starting to, speak about insurance and things like that. But when it comes to our community, like there's not a lot of that support and that hope. And it was just so evident to me, not only growing up in the urban communities, but working there, that there was a gap. And that gap was really around exposure, right? People
Mhm.
being exposed to the information, removing the stigma around getting help, asking for help, and being supported, and just making sure that people have access to the resources that they need to be able to do whatever it is that they're trying to do. And then providing a platform for their voice, right?
Mm,
Who better to, help to heal than the people who are in the community, right?
that
There's
part.
so much knowledge and there's so much wealth, but not enough resources to make sure that people are able to do what they're trying to do. So Urban EdRx was created out of the idea of really bridging that gap and providing the resources, connecting people to the resources that they need in the urban community.
That's so good. That's so good. Like, I think it's very important for teachers, especially not just teachers, but urban school employees, staff, teachers, administrators, to know and to understand that coaching and mental health support is important, and it's not something to be ashamed of. So I think you speaking to that and shining light. Let me tell you something. During COVID, becoming a teacher for my kids at home, I had a whole new appreciation. They, just doing it with two, one in high school and one in elementary. It was like, whoa, okay, teachers need more money. They deserve more money, more mental health support, more vacations, more break. But in all seriousness, it's true. Like what they're dealing with, and I'm dealing with two. They're dealing with
Hmm.
22, right? So
30.
I think all of us have a newfound appreciation not only for teachers but administrators, educators, excuse me, in general, because what you guys do, and like you said, you go through you have your own families, you have your own issues. So the fact that you felt like it was so important to do this, and like you said, nothing like witnessing it yourself and being your own focus group, you creating this brand from it's authentic, right? Being authentic, and this is who you are, this is the call on your life, and working with you to create this brand was absolutely an honor and a pleasure, because I know the communities, and not just in the US, but globally, in the urban communities, that are going to be impacted by Urban EdRx. So my question for you really is, what remarkable changes, right, do you envision for the communities that you're working with?
Yeah. So one of the things that you talked about was the fact of people having this newfound appreciation for educators. And I so wish that was still true. It was like, it came in a quick wave,
And it
and then
went.
people quickly forgot, the
Yeah.
amount of work that goes into this field and the amount of heart, right? The heart that people bring into the field. And so many people, it gets usurped by, the present circumstances or what they see, or their people are looking at test scores and all those things, and they forget about all that has to go into it, right? When
Mm,
you're an educator, you're not just educating, You are a mom sometimes. Sometimes I remember being a security guard. Sometimes,
A
I did
therapist,
all of the things, therapist, supporting,
a
making sure that these
referee.
kids, exactly. Right. Exactly. Exactly. All
It's
of the
real though. It's
things.
really real. It's serious, you
Yeah.
know?
And more so in urban communities, a lot of times when people come into, urban schools, we do the dog and pony show, right? We make it look really good on the inside, right? When you come in or when people are coming in to look. But behind the scenes and behind that curtain, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot where people just need support. And a lot of people, like even now, I was just doing some research and, over 300,000 people, teachers left the field within the past few years. So between
Wow.
2020 to now, 300,000
That's a
people left.
huge number.
Huge number.
Wow.
And I know NEA just recently did a survey as well, and people are still thinking about leaving. Like it was like almost
Wow.
50% of people that were like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that
But
number
that's
is
sad. People are
even
thinking about the teachers, but what about the impact on the children, the communities? We're not taking
exactly.
this. That is major.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that is
Wow.
why this work is so important, right? Because not only are people already leaving, people are still thinking about leaving. And that number is even higher in urban settings, urban communities. So our kids are the ones that stand to really lose out the most. And so with Urban Ed, as we're reintroducing and putting things back out there, it's really about learning how to do education different, right? We
Mm.
can't keep this going if we keep doing things the same way. Our kids are learning differently, the situation looks differently. Urban schools don't look the same as your suburban
Absolutely.
schools. I don't care
Absolutely.
how much you want to do it. If you talk to teachers that have been in either two, there's differences. And
I'm
so this
telling you,
is
as a
just
parent, there's
really
differences. Moving my
exactly.
children from urban schools to now where I live in Southwest Florida, huge difference. And that's
Yeah.
not, it's not fair and it's not right. No,
It's not. Because at the end of the day, our kids have the capacity, right? Our kids have the
man,
capability. They just don't have the exposure. And so
and the
this
resources.
exactly, and the resources. So exposure, resources, and just making sure that they know, right,
Mm,
the things that are out there. There are so many organizations, even within the community, but oftentimes they're not connecting to schools, right? So this is really a great platform to be able to open up this dialogue and to provide this space for people to start having these conversations and to make sure that we aren't just part of the frustration of it, but part of the solution. And that's what Urban EdRx
mm,
is really about, is creating the space for these solutions to make sure that we're filling in the gaps, that we're thinking innovatively, right? How can
mhm.
we still do and provide, but in a way that's going to be better or that's going to better impact our kids, that's going to meet them where they are, and that's going to expose them to what they don't see, right? Because
Right?
if they're exposed to just their environment, how will they ever know? I know just
Listen.
personally, leaving the country, I didn't leave the country until I was an adult,
Mhm, mhm.
but
Most people,
going,
right?
exactly, but
In
going
urban
out.
communities, I should say.
Exactly. But that exposure changed me, right? Once you see a thing, once you know a thing, you can't unlearn it. And so,
That part.
that exposure changed my mindset around what was possible, right? It
Mm,
leveled me up to start thinking about other things. And I just think oftentimes the conversations that I had with even my students when I was teaching, and their ceiling was low, right? Because they
mhm,
could only see what was around them. They
mm,
didn't know what else was out here in the world. And so that is, one of the visions that I have for this company, is to create those spaces for our students, for these communities to be exposed to the world so that they
mm,
can dream bigger, right? And
mm.
to know that
That
it's
part.
okay. Yeah. And
That
to
part, and letting them know
restore
it's
hope.
okay to do that. I think, and
Yeah.
I think, you know what, I was just thinking about something that I already know the answer to, but I wanted to ask you, and I want you to tell the people. I know this because I asked you these questions when we were building your brand, and I think it's very important that people understand. Share with the viewers and the listeners, excuse me, share with the listeners some of the bedrock principles that Urban EdRx's brand and foundation, that solid foundation that you built on. Tell me what some of those bedrock principles that Urban EdRx was built on.
Yeah. One of them is courage, right? It
Mm,
takes courage to be able to disrupt a system. And so, organization, this brand is about disrupting. It's about creating that space for people to have these bold conversations and to really start to figure out what can be done. What are these solutions that are out there? What are people already doing? What needs to be done to make this change so that education can look better for our students in these communities? The other thing is innovation, right?
Yes.
We can't keep doing the same thing that we were doing for all these years. So we have to start thinking innovatively. We have to come up with new ideas. We
Say
have
that
to
again for the people in the back. That's so
new
important, though.
ideas. We
Man,
have to
listen.
come up with new ideas because listen, our kids are growing up in a TikTok age, right?
Man,
They're
man.
not even asking to be ball players and think NFL stars anymore. They want to be TikTokers and influencers and things like that. And so we have
And
to
it's funny,
start
though,
to
because the
meet them where they
creators of
are.
TikTok they don't have their children on there.
Right,
Their
exactly,
children are in
exactly.
book math apps and things like that. So I think what you're doing is so important. Go ahead. I'm sorry. That's a thorn in my side. You almost caught me there. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I digress. Let me chill. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
And
But
so
it's
it's just
serious.
really about creating that space, right? And to
Yeah.
really create it from a space of compassion. As you said, that's a word that I always say, and that just truly runs deep in the brands. It's compassion. We have to learn how to have compassion because each person is different. Each person has different needs. Our students have different needs, and more so, the adults serving them have different needs. And so we have to be able to meet people where they are and provide them with the support and connect them, build that bridge. That's another really strong principle of urban ed is creating bridges so that people can connect with the resources they have. One of the other principles that for me has been at my heart is the principle of Ubuntu.
Mm-hmm.
Ubuntu, an African proverb, and it says,
Mm-hmm.
I am because we are,
You
right?
are.
And
Mm-hmm.
so there's that collaborative effort of we can't do it alone, right? It takes a village, but more importantly, like as we grow, as we strengthen ourselves, we're in a better position to reach back. We're in a better position to make sure we're not hurting the next person, right? We're in a better position as a teacher or a leader to make sure that we are good so that we can be there for the people that we're serving and not being part of the problem, right?
I don't think we
That we can
understand how
take a
much
step
power
back.
there
Yeah,
is. We don't understand how much power there is in that.
yeah,
Right? That
yeah,
is so important. It's like when we get out or we leave, oh, I'm out, I'm going. Yeah, but what about everybody else?
yeah.
If you think
And the
that's like,
gift,
yeah,
right? Each person has a gift that they bring to the table. And I think, part of the hope that is sometimes lost in the urban setting is that there's no one there. I don't want to say there's no one because there are people out there, but there needs to be a bigger push for individualism, for teaching people authenticity, right? That it is okay to be you, that your mistakes don't define who you are.
that part.
So all of these things, right? Because there's a lot of pressure that comes with being in the inner city, right? Because you got to deal with the environment first before you can do
Yeah.
anything else. And
And
sometimes, right?
society and media and
Exactly,
all of those things.
exactly.
And I talk all the time about we suffer from what's called the mindset of the oppressed. It's like we believe the lies that we're told. And I'm
Yeah,
so glad that there now is an organization that has the courage to speak to that because it's real.
yeah. Absolutely.
Mm,
It
mm,
is.
mm,
And in
mm.
order for us to heal, right, we have to be able to have these conversations. We got to be able to put it out there on the table. We have to be able to really address it and not sweep it under the rug because
That
otherwise
that's
things
sweeping
remain
under
the
the rug.
same.
Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's like what happens in my house stays in my house. And that's why we can't heal.
Yeah.
Right. So I think some of the things that we've been taught over time, yes, we got good things from our ancestors and from our parents and tradition, but we also picked up some bad things. So I think it's time to really be disruptive. I was,
Mhm.
we were joking and kidding around with my husband before this started about being a disruptor. But my thing is, I was not born to fit in. I was born to stand out. And I think we need to tell our kids that you don't have to be like Cardi B and no shade to her. She's doing her thing. Listen, right? She's being authentic. That's why she's successful is because she's being authentic. This is who she is. But
Yeah.
we need to teach our kids it's okay to be exactly who you are, right? And you are beautiful. You're strong and you're powerful, exactly the way you are. We don't need to change and adapt. And if you want to be a scientist, that's okay. We teach kids, oh, it's not cool to be nerdy or what. Like, no, let's teach our kids you want to be smart because you're going to be employing those people who made jokes or cracked jokes on you and bullied you. So keep
Exactly.
girl, yes, yeah, and this is why I
And
want
that's
to
why
do
it's
this.
so
I want
really
people to really understand how robust UrbanEdRx and I want to make sure I didn't skip over any of your principles. Did we miss anything?
No, no, I
Because
was
I
going
want
to
to ask you
ask.
another question about
Okay,
that.
got you. Well, there is one other thing that I did want to kind of point out too,
Yeah.
but it's just like this is why it's also so important to make sure that we're taking care of the well-being of the teachers, of the parents, of
Mm,
the leaders,
mm.
because if they are at their best, right, they then become role models. And I mean, even we can all think back on some of our favorite teachers and the impact that
Oh
they
yeah,
made. And those teachers that made the biggest impact were the ones that really put forth and really encourage our own authenticity, right?
it's
Or they
true.
pulled something out of us. They might have been tough on us, but they were drawing us up and out, right? They
Listen,
didn't allow us
there's
to
teachers I still
dispower.
think about that I gave the
Yeah,
business, but I realized
exactly.
like Lynn Scott John, I got to shout her out. I remember doing a what do you call it? Like a talk show she had me doing. I was interviewing the KKK. Now that's the wrong thing. You set me up. And she's like, you can't be one sided. And I was like, no, I didn't. But she was trying to teach me about the world. So you're right. That just as an example, even to this day, as a grown woman, that still is a part and has made me who I am, a part of
Yeah,
creating the monster that is csBailey. You're right.
yeah,
Teachers are important. What you guys and administrators, staff, even down to the cafeteria workers, we don't value the people who are having an impact on our children permanently.
exactly. And that's the
Permanently. So,
goal of Urban at RX is that if we can really shape and support and empower those that are in power, right, then it will ripple down to the students. And so
mm,
our focus is really on making sure that we're supporting those adults, making sure they have everything that they need so that they can bloom and be there for their students, right? Full capacity, pouring from a full cup so that their students then are able to receive that same thing. Because if we're all walking around like zombies, what student wants to be a teacher, right?
yep, yep.
They don't want any parts of it. They don't want to be there. You know what I mean? So we really do have to make sure that we're taking care of the adults and make sure that they're taking care of themselves so that they are in a good place to really take care and inspire the students.
I love that you're saying the things that need to be said, right? I think we don't think about it, right? The same way we didn't think about how valuable our teachers were until we had to teach our own children. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think so. So let me. These principles are absolutely amazing, right? I want to know, how do these principles, right? How do these principles serve as the compass, right, for your organization's initiatives and the decision making process?
Yeah. So when we think about it, there's a quote by Lao Tzu. It says, go to the
Oh, he's one of my
people,
favorites. But
one of
I'm
my
sorry, I'm
favorites.
sorry.
Go to the people, live with them, learn from them, love them, build with what they know. And actually, I know the whole thing. I'm going to say it again. Pray you might have to chop that up a bit.
So production, help us out.
Right.
Yes.
Help me out, production. All right. So there's a quote by Lao Tzu, and it says, go to the people, live with them, love them, learn from them, start with what they know, and build with what they have.
Mhm.
And the best teachers, when they are done, the people will say, we have done this ourselves. And so when I
Mm,
think of Urban at RX, that's exactly where it's coming from, that spirit of the people, right? If we give
that's
the
good.
people the resources, if we teach them what they need to know, if we give them the tools, then they themselves will solve the problem, right? I often said this when I was teaching. I'm like, if you need to know how to solve a problem in education, ask the teacher. They're right there. They're in the ground,
Mm,
boots on the ground, right? Same thing.
mm.
If you need to know how to better serve students, you ask the students. So the principles, whether we're talking about innovation, whether we're talking about being courageous, whether we're talking about collaboration, it really all stems from that same idea that if we provide the people with the resources, they will solve the problems.
That's good. And I mean, that's so simple, right? But so we don't ask the teachers. We don't incorporate the teachers. They just, administrators or elected officials, they make the decisions. What about the people who are in it every day, day in and day out? That makes me think about Abbott Elementary. That's one of my favorite shows. Like
Listen, that show,
that's my
and you
show.
know what? It's funny, but not funny because that is what it looks like. Remember, I talked earlier about when we pull back the curtain. When you pull back the curtain, that's exactly what's happening and what's going on. And we
Wow.
learn how to survive in it, right? We learn how
Mm,
to make do with it until, a lot, like I said, people leaving the field when they've had enough. or when they're like, all right, ready to tap out. Because it's not, a lot of times people used to ask me like, oh, are the kids rough? When you're working in urban settings, and it's not even the kids, right? They're kids. You can take those same kids, put them somewhere else. The problem though is the system. It's not necessarily designed in a way that allows teachers to have that autonomy to do what they do best, or to step outside of the box. Even though it's said sometimes, it's not really the follow up with that, right? Of really teaching people to be authentic. And I think some of our best teachers are the ones that are most courageous enough to step outside the box and say, forget it, I'm going to do it anyway. But can't we imagine an educational system where all teachers get that, right? Not just the loud ones and the ones that are bold, but even those that may not be, that might be a little bit more shy and quiet, have a foundation and a support system where they feel like they can really learn and grow, right? And to be able to ask questions and not feel bad about the fact that you didn't know the answer, right? Because none of us are perfect, right? Everybody is on a journey. I don't care how high up you are in leadership. Everybody has a learning curve. Everybody is figuring something out. And I think in the system or the field of education, we have to do a better job of making sure that people feel supported and that they have the tools that they need to do the work that they're trying to do.
That part, the resources, right? The tools. I was just thinking about here where I am in Southwest Florida. There's a teacher, she's been teaching for 35 years. And because of the cost of living here, the cost of living in Southwest Florida has skyrocketed. I know everywhere in the world, but here it's up like 30-40%. And she's like, you think she had to quit. And she's like, you think I'm quitting because I don't want to be a teacher anymore, or because I don't care about the kids? She said, that's not the case. She said, I had to get another job that has better benefits and more income for me to be able to live where I live. And it's like, that's so sad, because not only does that impact them, that impacts our communities directly. So it's like the resources that we're spending on down here, casinos or things like, can we invest that in the schools and in our teachers? So I think that what you're doing is it's just, I am over the moon about urban art. Urban, okay, that's a good point right there. Why don't you tell us, where did the inspiration come from, right, for the name UrbanEdRx? And your logo's a little crazy too, so let's talk about that, right? So your name is intriguing, and so I want to know what sparked the inspiration behind the name, and how does the logo encapsulate the values and the aspirations you hold for the communities that you're serving?
Yeah.
Not going to serve, because you're already doing it. So the
Well,
logo and the
first of
name. Let's
all,
talk about it.
I had a really amazing brand person who helped me. Who might that be? No, but
crazy. Say she's crazy. That lady crazy. That lady crazy.
And listen, you were able to really tap into all of the emotion of what I was trying to bring forth. And so UrbanEdRx, I'm so proud of this brand, because it really is about the prescription. So RX in itself has part of the meaning of it is a recipe, or it says to take, right? And so when we think about it, this disruption, right, and this idea that it's time that we start doing education differently, then we've got to have a recipe, right? We can't just come in complaining about stuff, but there has to be some type of recipe, some formula for people to be able to take to shift the urban education. And so that is where the name comes from. So UrbanEdRx, urban education, a prescription, solutions to provide wellness, to support the mental, physical, and social well-being of those who live and work in the urban communities.
Say that, say that, say that, say that, say that, say that. Look, I'm over here like, we needed a DJ for this episode.
Right.
Like, I just feel it when it feels right. It feels good. It's like you can feel it in your soul and in your bones. And I think, like, as you're saying that, right, I really think it's important. Even when we were talking, when we were developing your brand, you guys, that's my other job. I got 10 jobs, but I think it's important. I want you to speak to that word urban, right? Because oftentimes urban means different things to different people, right? So I don't want people to take it the wrong way. I really want them to really understand how robust this program is. And I don't want anybody to put you or UrbanEdRx in a box. So explain to us, how do you define urban? Okay. And how does Urban EdRx customize its strategies to address the specific needs, right? Because there are specific needs of the urban demographic, the urban communities based upon your definition of urban in Urban EdRx.
Yes. So you're right. When it comes to urban, it has a lot of meanings. Like when we the origin of the word actually was more so about a city, right?
Mm-hmm.
But over time, it's been developed and very synonymous with the Black culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think of urban, I
Everything's
definitely do.
urban now. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
urban has so many meanings, but for me, it's movement, right?
Mm,
There's creativity, it's
mm,
authenticity, right?
mm,
Of
mm,
being able to be you,
mm,
and really celebrating the culture of, not just African Americans, because when we're talking about education, urban schools encompass so many different cultures.
mhm, mhm,
And so, I think urban really is in the eye of the beholder of what
mm,
you
mm,
think. But for me, it really came from a place of my own culture, my own upbringing, right? I grew up in a very a black community. I grew up in an all black school, right?
mhm.
So for me, that's what my urban
Both
looks
of us. Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Correct.
it's that culture, it's that movement. And even when you look at the logo, like it was really important for me to like capture part of that culture, that
Mhm.
movement, that hip
The
hop, like
flow.
the flow of it.
Mm,
Like I even
mm,
when I think of it, like I just hear drums and I just hear the fun and the music and then just the embodying of who you are. And so when
mhm,
I think of urban, it comes from that place for myself. But I also recognize that when we're talking about urban education, it looks differently for different people, right? It looks
mhm,
different for different communities. And I know originally we were really focused on inner city communities, right?
mhm,
But urban schools, there are inner city kids in non-urban schools, right? So urban really can follow and flow along the lines. So I don't think urban has to have a definition. I don't think it has to have a box that it
mhm,
needs to be put in, but it definitely is about expressing the culture and supporting marginalized communities and making
mhm,
sure that people who are often termed or deemed the underdog are getting the support that they need to do the work that they're here to do. Right? We all have a purpose. And we all have a light, and so it's just providing that opportunity for people to have that space, and especially the people working in those
mm.
communities to make sure that they are at their best, so that those that they serve can do the same.
That's good. That's so. What's funny is after we created the brand, you and I haven't even talked about this, but I saw an interview. They were interviewing Denzel about some movie or show, something he was doing, and they were like, "So this is a black thing?" Where he said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, no." He said it's a cultural thing. So when you say culture, and that's why I mean the whole world is urban now because everything is hip hop now. Everything is black or I mean it is, right? The culture, right? The hip hop culture has been. It's funny. I was watching yesterday like a Mercedes Benz commercial, and it was like hip hop, and I was like, okay, well, alrighty then, Mercedes Benz.
The
Shout
brand
out
has
to you, right?
changed,
But
right?
but it's really a cultural thing, and I think that like you saying it's not necessarily a black thing. I mean, it's definitely inspired by, right? um, but Urban EdRx focusing really just on that inner city culture, that the people. How about that? The people. So when you talk about Ubuntu, just the people, like that. Yeah. Anyway, I get so overwhelmed when I think about Urban EdRx. It's one of my favorite brands. One of the most fulfilling brands that I've created. Almost makes me want to cry because I realize the impact. Like when you and let's take it there. Let's talk about you have such a broad target audience, right? You have such a broad target audience from educators to parents, the community. Urban EdRx touches everybody. You know what I mean? Like that's the best way. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, this is an education show. Listen, I'm CS Bailey. You get what you get. But when you dive deeper, right? Dive deeper into the diverse groups, right? Within the urban communities that you aim to support. And how do you tailor resources, right, to meet our unique needs?
Yeah, so it definitely is broad, and I tried so hard to like niche it down and to whittle it down. But at the very heart of this company, it's about the person. You go into the organization, and you're met by someone that has a nasty attitude, right?
Ooh-wee.
And you're trying to get support, and that person is just, not there for you, right? It's the kid that goes into school who's had a really bad experience, and
Mm,
that day maybe they weren't listening or they weren't getting it right, and the teacher is cutting their head off for it, right?
mhm.
And the disempowerment that they feel in that moment. It's the teacher who may not be doing everything right and really needs support, but doesn't feel empowered to go talk to the educator because they feel shame around that, right? So when I think of this brand, it's about making sure that all of those different people,
Mm,
right, whether it's the parent, whether it's the teacher, whether it's the
mm,
school leader, whether it's that person, that's in a social service organization, a mental health counselor, right, making sure that those people have a space where they can go and get support so
mm,
that they have the tools and the resources for themselves first, right? Because
mhm.
we can't take care of people when our cup is empty, and I've seen it time and time again, the clash that happens when you got two people that are having a bad day, right?
Mm,
And a lot of times it's so situational, right? And it's so circumstantial. But it's rooted deeply in hurt and pain and
mm.
trauma and all of these other things that are being experienced. And you said it earlier, right? People are not their roles. I
That
might be a
part.
teacher, but I still, when I was teaching, I was still a mom and a wife and a daughter and all of those other roles that I had to play before I even stepped in the door. And so if I walked in the door with a bad day, guess what? Me and another
Everybody else.
student might have been
Mhm,
having a bad day, right?
mhm, mhm.
I'll
That's
never
real.
forget,
That's real.
there was a little girl, two stories that actually come to mind. There was a little girl that she was just off that day. She came in to my classroom and she was like terrorizing. So, I had her sit down and take a little moment, and in general form, right? Normally I would have just sent her back to class afterwards, but for whatever reason that day, like, I really felt the compassion. And so after
Mm,
I dismissed the class, I had her step to the side and I'm like, hey, listen, what's going on, right? What's going on with you? And she shared with me, and now this is like a third or fourth grade, she might even been younger than maybe second, third
mm.
grade. But she shared with me that she had lost someone that she really loved, right?
Oh,
And
man.
so when we think about that, right, in that moment, that could have been disastrous, right? But me taking that
Yes.
moment to really just allow her to talk, for me to
Mhm.
hear what she was going through, and to be able to share some words of encouragement and give her a hug, right? That made all the world, because she walked away with such a big smile on her face, right?
Mhm,
And it's just like,
mhm.
kids and even adults, right? We don't always have the words to express what we're going through and what we're dealing with. And so that's why I think it's so important that we bring compassion back, right?
Mhm,
That we have to
mhm,
do things differently, because that compassion could have been the difference between her having another horrible rest of her day, or her
mhm.
at least having that one speck or spark of joy in a moment that somebody actually cared about her
That human
outside
touch,
of,
that
yeah,
being human.
the
I think we
humanity,
get so
right?
stressed out and the world is so crazy that we forget to be human. And that's what makes us special, is that emotion, that compassion, that wow. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I think we get so caught up in our own world and what we're going through that we forget that we need each other.
Yeah.
I say to you guys all the time as host and just in general for She Is Still Dope, and even for my branding clients, that we're stronger together. Don't
Hmm.
compete with me, eat with me. Like, we forget to be human, and especially when it comes to children. I was
Yeah.
talking to another one of the show hosts about children, and children feel like they're just not being heard,
Hmm.
like we're not listening. And the
Hmm.
fact that you took that moment, imagine if you wouldn't have, that could
Hmm.
have impacted that little girl for the rest of her life because she was grieving. But I think that you say, listen, I never have thought so much about the word compassion until I branded you. But I also never realized, even when it comes to my own children, how important compassion is and how powerful it
Hmm.
is. So I know that that's that is a huge focus for you, right? We talk
Yeah.
about compassion a lot. You have a great workshop series and a couple other things coming up that deal with that. I need to take it. I'm not even well, I am sort of an educator. Anyway, but I want to know, when you set out, right, to create Urban EdRx, what were the specific goals, right, that you aim to achieve, and how do you feel your organization can contribute and create positive change in urban communities and for the world in general, because I think it's bigger than that.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the core of it is the support, right? The goal of this organization was to provide a supportive space, and to make sure that I was providing those tools and resources that people needed, to support their mental, physical, and social well-being. That's it,
Mhm.
right?
Wow.
Making
That's
sure
it,
that
just
they
that,
have the
right? Like that's
right,
not
just
a
that,
whole lot. Like, she always says that.
just
She's like,
that.
listen, when I was branding her, that's it. Don't listen. Y'all don't know how many times we worked on this logo. Like, but you know what? It actually resulted. One thing that Raquel is going to do, and that I appreciate about her, is that she's not going to let something go until it's right. And I want, and I know I'm interrupting here, but listen, it's my show now. So no, but in all seriousness, you care, and what you're doing, it comes from this authentic place, and you're one of the most compassionate people I know, and what you're doing is so very important. So I really want people to understand, and you can finish answering that question, I'm sorry, but I want people to understand that what you're creating and what you've done is, it's who you are. It's not what you do, it's who you are. And you're coming from an authentic place, and you have such a big assignment ahead of you. So I'm going to let you finish answering that question. If I need to ask it again, I will. But I just want you to know I have such respect for what it is that you're doing. And I want people to know that when you talk about compassion and you say, like, when you talk about how important it is, I really want them to understand that that is one of the primary focuses of Urban EdRx, is to help to heal the world, and to help the world by um, pouring into and improving urban educational institutions. I keep saying schools, but it really is more than schools, right? It's educational institutions. So go ahead and speak to that, and you can answer the question. I'm sorry, I get excited.
I love it. I love it. No, thank you. So when I think about Urban EdRx and what our goals are, is really to make sure that we are providing the support for the mental, physical, and social well-being of those who live and work in the urban communities. So, it can't just stop at the teachers, right? The parents are also very instrumental in doing the work that needs to be done for their students. They're their first role models,
That's
right? And
right.
so the goal and the vision behind it is really that we can support student well-being by supporting the adults who serve them. That's where the root of this, right, is that if we take care of the adults that are running the system, that we take care of the adults who are working the system, that it will then ripple down to make sure that the students understand, and are seeing how
Mhm.
they can better support their own well-being and to really take care of their own well-being. It's not enough for us to go in and be like, all right, we got to drink this much water, we got to sleep this many hours a night. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Like, that's what I was seeing. But the gap is that we can say it, but are we doing it? And do they have the resources to actually get it done? Right? If I want to show you how to cook a good meal, right, do you have the resources to then do that at home for yourself? And
Hmm.
so Urban EdRx is really about creating those bridges, right? Because not only is it what services we offer, like the coaching, the workshops, the retreats, things like that, but it's also collaborating with other organizations who are offering services that support the community as well.
Mm. That's listen. I'm so excited about what you guys are doing, and one of the things that I'm so excited that you decided to do was this podcast, because it's so very important. As we know, podcasting is huge right now, and you have a million things on your plate. So I know just adding this on to the list of your wife, your mother, your, you know what I mean, your, all of these things, a business owner, and all that. Now a podcast host. Um, Urban NRX, right? It covers a variety of topics, right? It really does. It's such a robust program. Um, how do you curate the content, right, for this show, and select the guests for Urban EdRx's episodes?
Yeah. So, when it comes to this space, I want it to be a safe space. I want it to be a healing space.
Mm,
And so when I think about, those that I'm bringing onto the show, these are people who have either worked in urban education or have resources to support those who work in urban education.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, looking for people who have creative solutions, right? I want this to be a place where people can come to get the solutions. Again, it's not just about talking about, the fact that we need to do education differently. It's about the solutions, the RX, right? What is the
A lot of
recipe?
talking. That's
What
right.
is
We need
that
prescriptions.
prescription that is
Yes.
going to provide the resources, the tools that people can use to really heal our communities? And healing comes from the inside out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a space for new, small business owners who are trying to support the urban education community to come and to share what they're doing and to share some of their resources and tools. It's also a place for people who are working in that industry to come and share some of the insight of what they're seeing, from their boots on the ground, and some things that are working, right? Some ways that they're changing and making impacts on their communities. So I'm really excited about the people that are going to be coming on and sharing with you all, because again, it's a bridge, right? And we are stronger together, as you said. So it's just about kind of bringing that network of people. Some of these people, I'm really close with, so I've seen, their journey. And some are our newfound friends that I'm learning and networking with that are coming on to share out what they're doing. So I'm just excited because there are so many people out here that are really trying to make a difference in these communities. And so I'm excited to have them here on the show to share out with you all.
Yeah, that impact. You talk about you want people to make an impact. Like, that, what? Why be on here, right? Why be a guest if you're not going to make an impact? And like you said, we talk about it, but we're in a season where we got to walk the walk,
Mhm.
and we got to be about it. Like
Yeah.
we, oh, I want to see the world change. I want to see the schools change. The schools should be. What are you going to do about it? What are you
Hmm.
going to do about it? So stop. And she didn't say this. I said it. Stop talking about it, and let's be about it because we really. I mean, we everybody who's listening, like if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can help to push this initiative, this movement. It's not just a brand, a business. This is a movement. If
Yeah.
there's someone that you know that can help this movement in any way, funds, we all need funds, right? Anything urban we know is underfunded. So if you know somebody with funding or resources or whatever, I don't care what they got. If they got a bike they want to donate, we can raffle off. Holla at your girl, Coach Rock, right? And we'll give some information later on how you contact her. We're coming to a close, you guys. Hang in there with us for a few minutes. I just want to find out from you. I'm curious. I'm curious about what you have coming up, right? I want to know. Give us a sneak peek, right, into upcoming initiatives or projects. Um, what's in the pipeline, right? For Urban EdRx, and how are you going to support the urban community? Tell them why should we donate? Why should we care about Urban EdRx? What's coming up that they can? What do you need money for? Let's. She didn't say that. She didn't say it. She didn't ask. I did. What do you need money for? Funding for? Number one, the easiest thing that everybody can do is like and share. Like and share so we spread the word about Urban EdRx. I need you guys to like and share. Subscribe to She Is Still Dope. This is a global movement. We're stronger. So like and share and subscribe. But seriously, when it comes to Urban EdRx, you need resources. We talk about walking the walk and talking the talk. One, like how can they donate? What do you need? What projects are coming up that we can really pour into as a community, right? And not just take from, but really people say, how can I help? What can I do? Let's stop talking about it and be about it. What type of programs, initiatives, um, what's coming up? What's coming up for you for Urban
Sounds
EdRx?
good.
How can we help and what's going on?
Yes. Well, one, we have workshops. So if you go on the website, we have a few workshops that are on there. One of the biggest ones right now is the mindfulness and motion workshop. So that is a series that I created because let's face it, people are busy, and so that
Baby.
series was actually created to provide really short, a short sequence of mindfulness, breath work, as well as mindful discussions and movement so that people can see how they can bring mindfulness into their everyday, right? It's not just
Mhm.
about sitting quietly and figuring out, how to like bring yourself and to ground yourself, but how do you bring mindfulness into your actual workday? How do you
Mm.
bring mindfulness into the moments that you're sharing with other people? And so that's what that mindfulness and motion series is about, is really showing people how to make mindfulness accessible throughout the
Mm.
day.
Mm.
And so that is one way you can definitely support if you have an organization Or, if you yourself are just interested in being a part of that, you can visit us on the website to learn more about that or to sign up for that program. We also are rolling out a compassionate leadership series. So that is a new series that is coming up. So stay tuned for that one. But that is really making sure, because again, in order to ripple out, we have to make sure that the people at the top are at their best. And so that compassionate leadership program is a 8-month series, like 6 to 8 month series, where leaders can come together, where we'll be doing some networking and learning some principles and learning from other leadership experts around how we can be more compassionate and what are some of those tools that we can use to really disrupt the system, to shift things and to make the system better for everybody. One of my biggest babies, and this I am so excited about, is the 1 million urban educator campaign. So this doesn't cost you any money. Of course, you can always donate if you like, but the 1 million urban educator campaign is a way for us to start to showcase all the good that is going on in this community. There are so many teachers, like you said earlier, you listed a teacher that you talked about that made an impact. I've had so many teachers that have made impacts. And so it's about being able to use social media as a way to, to highlight these people and what they're doing. And so for this particular campaign, especially, we got Black History Month coming up. So we're going to really be highlighting some, famous and historical urban educators. But also I want to flood the timeline with people who are in your life,
Yes.
who have made a difference, to highlight their names, to highlight what they've done, so that we can share out and make sure that we keep that energy going, that, it takes a village and there are people that are making impact. None of us would be where we are without some type of educator, right?
It's true.
So, and right now I want to focus on those urban educators and make sure that we're supporting them and giving them their flowers, right? Whether they're here or not, but making sure that we're highlighting those people. And so that is a initiative that's coming up, and that's simple and easy. You can follow me on your favorite social media at UrbanEdRx.com. I mean, at UrbanEdRx.
No, you're touching on. I was just about to say, we kept saying the courses and the classes are on the website. For those who are listening, share your website, share your social media, and also share with them the hashtag for the 1 million educators initiative.
So for the website, it's UrbanEdRx.com. So UrbanEdRx.com. And then for all social media everywhere, it's UrbanEdRx. So everything is UrbanEdRx. Make it easy for you.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. And then in
at
terms
UrbanEdRx,
of,
UrbanEdRx. Do you guys hear that?
at
Tell your friends, tell your
UrbanEdRx.
cousins, tell your mama, and then
Yes.
hashtagging. What are we hashtagging when we're sharing? I know you're going to be launching that soon, the 1 million educators. What are we hashtagging? And to learn more, they're going to follow you on social media about the 1 million educators initiative.
Yes. So you can follow me on social media, especially Instagram or Facebook. You'll see that there. And then it is hashtag 1 million. So 1M urban educators.
So I want y'all to hashtag
1M
that today.
urban
Hashtag
educators.
1M educators. 1 million. We could do it. Like we should be able to do that overnight.
1 million urban educators. Yes. So
Support.
we're pushing for 1 million followers, urban educators, people who are wanting to support urban education. Like, we want to get us, because the more of us there are, the larger our voice, the more that we can really push out and ring out about making sure that, people understand that there needs to be support, right? That we've got to start shifting the system. We've got to start having these hard conversations, and to really highlight the people who are already doing the work, right? It's not just me. There are other organizations doing this work as well. And I want to make sure that they too are highlighted. And I want to make sure that schools know where they can come, to get some support and help for their educators and their parents' mental, physical, and social well-being.
Absolutely amazing. Listen, you guys, I just before we close out, and I'm gonna let you have your show back. I'm gonna let you close it out. But before we go, I did kind of take over. It was the takeover today,
It was
y'all.
a takeover
I'm a hip hop head. I
edition.
can't help it, y'all. Yes, I work for Jesus. Seriously, but I love hip hop. In all seriousness, I want to say that I am so working with you just from the beginning to seeing you where you are now and just knowing you is a blessing. And I want to let you know I am so proud of you. Like just sister to sister, woman to woman. I know the sacrifices that you've made to make this thing happen. And I'm so excited about the change that you're about to create in this world because people don't know Urban EdRx is global. So I just want to say congratulations. And I listen right now. I am Urban EdRx's biggest fan and biggest cheerleader. I hope I'm not going to be in the future because I pray as people find out more about you and about this amazing movement. It's a movement that more people will support and help to spread the word and get involved. So again, you guys, UrbanEdRx.com. Follow her everywhere at UrbanEdRx. See, that's what happens when you have a good branding person. you know, wink, wink. You can learn more about me at imcsbailey.com. Follow me on all social at imcsbailey. Listen, I teach all my clients, if you don't market and promote yourself, nobody will. But in all seriousness, what you're doing is absolutely amazing. You are just destined for greatness, and this is just the beginning. So I'm excited about Urban EdRx and to see what you're going to do, right? To see what you're going to do because you've already done amazing things. So thank you so much for allowing me to introduce you. I mean, to interview you. Excuse me. Thank you for allowing me to interview you and be a part of this new year and fresh start for Coach Rock. I call her that. Y'all can't call her that. Coach Rock and Urban EdRx. So Coach Racquel Barnes, I am going to turn it over to you and I'm going to bow out gracefully. I will let you close out this edition. And again, thank you so much for allowing me to interview you. And you guys support, support, support. Hashtag 1 million educators. Rock, keep up the great work. I'm here if you need anything. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to say thank you so much. I wouldn't have had it any other way than to have Cherie, to come on and to do this interview because she has been so instrumental in the process of creating this brand. And as we step into 2024, this is the year of boldness, the year of courageousness, the year of opening our voices and making sure that we are heard. And so I just encourage all of you to follow Urban EdRx at Urban EdRx on all social media platforms. Share this with your friends for those that you know who are in the urban education sector, those thinking about going in, and those who just simply want to support so that we have this platform for support, mental, physical, and social well-being for those who live and work in urban settings. And we're here at this platform. Our goal is to make sure that we are doing education differently. And so we are giving out the prescriptions, the solutions to make sure that we are doing urban education differently. So follow me, be sure to check me out on the next episode. And you can always visit me at www.urbanedrx.com for more information or to learn about any of our programs and upcoming events. See you next time.